The theme, the intended theme for this visit is the principles of surrender. And the principle of surrender is one of the six, has six elements. Sharana Agati. Hi, Krishna, thank you. So yesterday we spoke about the principle of humility. True humility precedes true bhakti, because without humility, who's going to surrender? And this evening, it's related. It's building up or heading in the direction of surrender. But profiles of humility and profiles of surrender. So this very ecstatic painting of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan in the streets of Navadvip. We know it's during the Navadvip time. There's a little ring back. Can you fix the ring back? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda have full head of hair, and they're in the streets of Navadvip, chanting and dancing, and devotees falling on the ground in ecstasy. And very nice painting, very ecstatic painting, and festoons and banners and musical instruments, and enjoying Sankirtan like anything. Amongst the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, perhaps the topmost, or if not one of the topmost followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Rupa Goswami. There's many, many, many nice things to say about Rupa Goswami. Okay. So Rupa Goswami like 5 sections in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms again and again 5 times. He empowered Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Rupa Goswami to understand everything and to be able to write about that everything. And he requested, he gave his blessings, he requested the Vaishnavas to give their blessings to him. And one of the circumstances that demonstrated that he had received Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's blessings was pictured here. During Kirtan, do you like Kirtan? Yeah. Of course we know you so, really? Huh? Más o menos, more or less, or a lot? Somewhere in the middle. Más o menos. You speak Spanish? Any Spanish? Más o menos, that's Spanish. More or less. Plus or minus, más o menos. Okay, so during Kirtan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would recite a verse again and again. He was tasting, the reciting again and again was tasting the contents or the substance of the verse. And it was a verse that many people didn't understand, but Rupa Goswami understood. It was the mood of Srimati Radharani in Vrindavan, hankering for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, hankering for Krishna's association. But he said it was as if it was like from a love story. She loves him, he loves her, woo, 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 one of those. And no one understood, they didn't question, is he in a transcendental realm or not? But they didn't understand what he was saying, doing. But Rupa Goswami did, and he wrote a companion verse on a leaf, because that was the system for writing at the time, and stuck the leaf in the thatched roof of his cottage when he went to take bath in the sea. And while he was away, taking bath in the sea, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to visit him. And he didn't find him because he went to take his bath in the sea. But he saw this leaf stuck in the thatched roof. So he started reading what was written on that leaf stuck in the thatched roof of his cottage. And he understood that Rupa Goswami understood his mind when no one else could understand his mind. And as he was examining the verse, there's Rupa Goswami. When you see the tower of the temple in Jagannath Puri in the background. And he, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then glorified Rupa Goswami for that capacity without saying anything to understand the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now that was when he was in Puri, on his way to Puri, as you may know. Let's do a little bit of the background. The three brothers, Rupa, Sanatan, and their third brother was Anupam, who was the father of Jiva Goswami. They lived in the northeastern part of India, north of Mayapur, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, in a place called Ramakeli, and the three brothers were engaged in the service of the Pathan ruler, Nawab Hussain Shah. And he was dependent upon those three brothers to run the government nicely so he could take his armies and go off and conquer new lands. That was the program. They didn't like it. Many things of how they got in that bad situation, but they didn't like it. They got out of the situation. And when they got out of the situation, Sanatan Goswami made the arrangement that Rupa could go first and he would take care of business with the Nawab. So Rupa and Anupam left, and in the course of travel, Anupam died. Rupa survived, and they met together at Prayag, the Shashvamedha Ghat in Prayag. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares for 10 days, he gave instructions to Rupa Goswami on the science of bhakti. Now this was on Lord Chaitanya's way back from Vrindavan, heading back to Puri, and Rupa Goswami was heading just to meet up with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He told him, you go stay in Vrindavan after 10 days. You go stay in Vrindavan. After some time, you can come meet me again in Puri. He didn't stay for too long, because Lord Chaitanya was his life and soul, although he had given him Vrindavan as his place of residence. And so on his way, Rupa Goswami, on his way from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri, he had this gift. He had many gifts. One of his many gifts was he could compose verses in his mind. He didn't have a computer, didn't have a recorder, didn't have anything. Just had a mind with a perfect memory. So as he was moving, he was composing a drama in his mind. And in the drama, it's just Krishna's pastimes, the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. And when he got to a place north of Puri, heading south towards Puri, in a place called Satyabhamapur, he had a dream. And in his dream, Satyabhama appeared. And Satyabhama appeared instructing him, you should make this 2 dramas. And the 2 dramas should be Krishna in Vrindavan, Vidagdha Madhava, Krishna outside of Vrindavan, Lalita Madhava, and Vidagdha Madhava, 2 dramas. So Rupa understood this is an instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for me. And so in his mind, he was still traveling. It's 2 dramas now. And when he got to Jagannath Puri, and then he came before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and wonderful greetings, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him a place to stay while he was visiting in Puri. And in one meeting, he disclosed to him, the drama, I understand you're composing a drama. It should be 2 dramas. So Rupa Goswami could then understand, he knows my mind. Rupa Goswami could understand the mind. This is love. Lover and beloved, and no one's keeping score. Lord Chaitanya understood the mind of Rupa. And of course, he was astonished and happy at the same time. So that's the kind of intimate relationship that they had with one another. And so in this way, Rupa Goswami was able to access pastimes of Krishna from within his heart. The truths about Krishna were revealed within his heart. And the truths about Krishna within his heart, because of the elevated, super elevated position of Rupa Goswami, we accept them as pastimes of Krishna, not just his imagination, or maybe it wouldn't be nice to write a book if it was something about this or that. These are actual exchanges of loving dealings between Radha and Krishna, written by Rupa Goswami, and then confirmed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So for those that have this is connecting with yesterday evening's position, those who have genuine humility and have genuine faith in transcendence, and genuine bhakti, true bhakti arises from that. And those that have that humility and faith have a relationship with Krishna, and in Krishna reveals himself. There's a very nice description. Another nice devotee that was super, super humble, Kolaveca Sridhara. Anybody in the room here needs an introduction to Kolaveca Sridhara? You all know who's, okay. He was Kolaveca. He is a Vaishya. His business, his income was selling products from banana trees. That's his name, Kolaveca. Kolaveca, he lived in a grove. He lived remote, not far from the river Ganges, proximate to the river Ganges. And there's a pathway along the bank of the river Ganges, and he would set up his shop, just put a cloth on the floor and on the ground, and sell bananas, banana leaves, because sometimes in Bengal, rather than have plates, or they just serve their meals on banana leaves. So big banana leaves, fold the banana leaves to make banana cups, banana flowers, and bananas. Banana products. And you know how much, because there's bananas all over the place, banana trees all over the place. So how much can you earn? He was very poor. Very, very poor. But that was his income. And he was an honest person. And he was very devoted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at that particular stage of his life, was young, And he was a teacher. He was a Brahmana teaching Sanskrit grammar. An occupation for a Brahmana, teaching grammar. So he had a grammar school. He was the best of teachers. So he had many students because at that time Navadvip was known for at least being a very strong hold of Brahminical culture. And he was a leader amongst the young teachers. But every day or regularly, he would go way out of his way to visit Kolaveca. And they had a very interesting relationship. He would tease and taunt in a loving way Kolaveca Sridhara, saying, I'm a Brahmana, it's your duty, you should give in charity to a Brahmana. So I'll give you something, but you should charge a fair price. And then he would bargain, because Vaishyas like to bargain. And he would bargain with him over the price. And then back and forth and back and forth. And it got to be so painful for Kolaveca. He said, just take whatever you like and give whatever you like. Leave me alone. And this would happen regularly. It was love. The exchange was an exchange of love. The medium was Vaishya talk. Merchandise, and how much will your merchandise cost? And I'm a Brahmana, and you should give in charity, and back and forth and back and forth. So fast forward in time, that was their well-established relationship. And a certain event took place, as you know the history. Some of you know the history, some of you may not know the history. There was an occasion where in the evening hours, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would conduct congregational chanting at the house of Srivas Thakur, Srivas Pandit. Now, house doesn't mean like this, it's a compound, and he lived as in an extended family. There were brothers that lived with him, but he was the elder brother, so it was the house of Srivas. And their wives and their children and their whole shebang. They had, the house of Srivas. And there was a boundary wall around the house, and the mandate from Nimai Pandit at this time was lock the gate. Unless someone is a qualified person, they shouldn't come in. Now, that's not the normal policy later on, but that was the policy at the time, because he was, but for a different reason, but he was establishing the congregational chanting, and it needed that kind of incubation chamber for intimate devotees, and they would chant and chant and chant and chant and chant all night long. Sometimes devotees do that too, but they did this regularly. And get up early in the morning too. The devotees don't always do that if they stay up late. Then one evening, in an ecstatic mood, as the kirtan was roaring and joyfully dancing and singing, Mahaprabhu's mood suddenly changed. And his mood changed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead mood, externally. So he went right up to the altar and sat on the altar and said, "Worship me." And they were, okay. And they worshipped him. And, the whole, everything, incense and water from the Abhishek, and it was a whole, like a deity installation, and then they worshipped him. And then, when that kirtan subsided a little bit, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called forward one devotee after the next devotee, after the next devotee, after the next devotee, and disclosed things that nobody knew about that devotee. And the devotee knew that nobody knew about that thing about them, but he disclosed his omniscience of who that devotee is and events in their life. And one by one, he was doing this with each of the devotees. And because the image is on the screen about Kolaveca, he had this he called for Kolaveca Sridhara to come, but he wasn't there. So they sent him to go find him. Now, during those days, there was the Ganges, there was the path along the Ganges, but there are no streetlights. And when there's no streetlight, it's dark. So how do you find your way? You just follow the path. They didn't have a flashlight, or they had some kind of a torch, and said, if you can't find him, just listen, because he lives off the path along the bank of the Ganges, but you can hear his chanting. He chants very loudly all night long. People think, oh, he's chanting loudly because he's so hungry. Wailing and making all this noise because of like starvation. Poor fellow. But it was just chanting. It was his way of chanting the holy name. So chanting, and they found him. And they brought him before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he fell before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this case, he's not just in the role of a Brahmana teacher, he's in the mood of the personality of Godhead. In the mood of the personality of Godhead, he disclosed past activities of Kolaveca Sridhara and told Kolaveca Sridhara, look, see me. Then he showed there's his form of Lord Chaitanya, but behind Lord Chaitanya, there's a form of Krishna Balaram. He revealed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed, before the vision of Kolaveca Sridhara, that he's Krishna Balaram combined. So some devotees, because of their humility, have wonderful exchanges, and sometimes it's like with Rupa Goswami, and sometimes it's with other devotees. I was just reading today, Murari Gupta. I think we're going to be touching on Murari Gupta. That's next. There's a book written by Murari Gupta. With devotees that were very humble and devoted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would engage with them in different ways. And with Kolaveca Sridhara, he showed him his spiritual form of Krishna Balaram simultaneously. So something happened with Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta, his house was very proximate to and behind the house of Nimai Pandit's father, Jagannath Mishra, and Mother Sachi, and over that way, not far away, short distance away, was Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta, by trade, he was a physician. So there was a pastime between the two of them where Lord Chaitanya had indigestion. Now, he's the personality of Godhead, but he had indigestion, too much mucus. And so Murari Gupta, the physician, came, visited him, and cured his disease. Lord Chaitanya was very grateful. Murari Gupta was known as being a devotee of Lord Ramachandra, eternally a devotee of Lord Ramachandra, like Hanuman is Ram Bhakta. It's not something else, he's Ram Bhakta. And Murari Gupta was like that. And he knew, Lord Chaitanya knew, that Murari Gupta was a Ram Bhakta. So one time he visited and he asked Murari, chant Krishna's name. So, being devoted to Lord Chaitanya, as well as to Lord Ramachandra, he went home and he tried. And he tried and he tried and he couldn't and he couldn't. He came back the next day crying. Take away that instruction, please. I've given my heart to Lord Ramachandra. And Lord Chaitanya appreciated very much, now still Nimai Pandit, but appreciated his devotion to Lord Ramachandra, while he was a devotee of Krishna. Of course, he's the personality of Godhead, but in the role of a devotee of Krishna. And so, another time, this is in this Sri Chaitanya Charita Mukta Mahakavya. So it's Murari Gupta's writing. He's a physician, so he's a writer. Lord Chaitanya came to visit him, and when he was visiting him, he was engaged in deity worship. And when he was engaged in deity worship, Lord Chaitanya saw this pot that he's using for water for this deity worship. And all of a sudden, in ecstasy of Lord Varaha, he assumed the form of Lord Varaha, as you see in the painting. And he took the pot and held the pot up on his tusks, like Varaha rescuing the earth from the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean, and roared like a boar would roar. And Murari is, needless to say, pretty amazed. And it was, in different ways, Lord Chaitanya had pastimes with his dear, intimate associate devotees. Here's a very interesting painting or drawing. One time he was doing his puja, and Lord Nityananda came and, as you see, passed water right on the paraphernalia that was using for his puja. And Murari Gupta is very alarmed. What are you doing? You're a madman. Get out of here. But he understood Lord Chaitanya, and by this time, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda were the personality of Godhead, because he had sufficient evidence to confirm all of that. Now, for those that came a little bit later, this is on the topic of surrender, starting with the quality of humility and faith that leads to further surrender and further levels of bhakti. So one of those personalities that we find, of course, is Prahlada Maharaj. And Bhaktanam Sarvesham Pratirupa Drik. This is Lord Nrsingadev speaking to Prahlada Maharaj. You are the best example of my devotee. So this is Lord Nrsingadev confirming. There's different persons. If who is to say who's the greatest, or who's the best devotee of Krishna, we could say lots of things. The gopis, there's the top of our list. But then the gopis say Govardhan is the best of the devotees. So if the best of the devotees say Govardhan is the best of the devotees, then you're not going to contradict the gopis. The scripture again and again says Lord Shiva is the best of the devotees. Vaishnavanam Yatar Shambhu. So lots of best devotees. And Prahlada is, according to Lord Nrsingadev, the best example of my devotee. He has all qualifications, and all those qualifications are driven by one thing: exclusive devotion to the personality of Godhead. So much so that when Lord Nrsingadev finished Hiranyakashipu and the demigods wanted to calm down Lord Nrsingadev, they tried. They offered prayers. Nothing worked. He was still angry. So they sent Prahlada to go forward and offer prayers, because after all, he appeared to protect Prahlada, not to protect them. And so, under their order, in a humble mood, he went before Lord Nrsingadev and offered prayers, who then became very calm. It's a very wonderful section of the Bhagavatam. They're especially noted the prayers of Dhruva and the prayers of Prahlada. In one sense, because it's coming from a place of complete innocence, but also the eloquence, and speaking essences and a whole series of glorifications, what they have in their heart towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A perfect devotee and a perfect devotee offering prayers to the Supreme Person. Very, very nice section. There's many nice sections like that. The Bhagavatam is very wonderful literature. Very wonderful literature. And if you know somebody that doesn't have Srimad Bhagavatam and doesn't understand it's a wonderful literature, help them. Make them a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam, or at least first canto Bhagavatam, and help them. And then read and discuss the Bhagavatam together with others. I'm going to go forward now towards the 10th canto Bhagavatam, where another personality very much loved by by Krishna was Sudama. Now there's one Sudama who was a cowherd boy. There's another Sudama who was a Brahmana. And the Brahmana, Sudama, and Krishna went to school together. So when you have a really close friendship with somebody you go to school with, it's like they're with even when you grow up and you go elsewhere. You remember those persons, and maybe from time to time you reach out to those persons and how's it going, and all those nice things. So Krishna, grew up without going to school. Sounds good, right? No school, yay. But then when he went to Mathura, his mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki, they were Kshatriyas from the royal family, and the son hadn't gone to school yet. So the first thing before little boy going to school is Upanayana. So he had Gargamuni do his Upanayana, gave him the sacred mantra. And then there was a decision about where he would go to school. And this discussion, that discussion, it turns out, according to our acharyas, that Krishna decided. Because, for different reasons. One of them was Sudama. Because Sandipani Muni was not a Vaishnava. Sandipani Muni became his teacher, but he was not a Vaishnava. He was a Shaivite. And how can a Vaishnava teach the personality of Godhead as his teacher, as a teacher-student? That was one of the explanations. Plus, he wanted to elevate Sandipani Muni. Although Sandipani Muni, was a Shaivite, his daughter, who was the daughter of Sandipani Muni? Purnamasi, right? Purnamasi? Yes? No? Yes. Purnamasi. And Purnamasi is Yogamaya, personified. And she has a very important role to play in Braja Leela. So that's another connection of why Krishna went to school, in the school of Sandipani Muni. But Sudama is another, because Sudama and Krishna are eternal associates, and they met together in school. I mean, the Leela is, they met. And when they met together in school, Krishna wasn't there in school for a long time. Some of you may know. He graduated in 60 days. Everything that Sandipani Muni, great, celebrated, learned, scholarly Brahmana, 60 days, he learned it all. Including how to be, a Kshatriya. There's a very nice illustration. I think I put it here. Sandipani Muni, is overseeing Krishna and Balaram learning how to do military skills. He wasn't a Kshatriya, he was a Brahmana, but he knew how to teach the Kshatriyas military skills. So there they are with their bow and arrow and, training them up. Because later he may, as Kshatriya, have to rule and give protection to citizens, so he has to have military skills. But this is pertinent to our topic yesterday about humility. Krishna, the personality of Godhead, and Sudama, a Brahmana, were given the menial service of going into the forest and gathering wood for the yajna that the Brahmana, Sandipani Muni, would engage in daily. So off they went, doing that basic austerity of gathering firewood. And as you know, one fine day, there was a big storm. And it was so stormy that the water started flooding and they couldn't even see the difference between land and water. So they spent the night in the forest, just with each other's company. And when they didn't come back that night in the midst of the storm, the next morning, soon as the sun came up, Sandipani Muni with other students went out looking for him. And when they found him, he was so appreciative of the sacrifice and humility and love with which these two had endured great difficulty. Some time passed. After graduation, Krishna went back to Mathura to be with his mother and father, and he stayed there in Mathura for a long period of time, some number of years, and then he went from there to the next place. We're going to hear more about that in 2 days, the sequence of events in his life, Krishna's life. And Sudama went back to his place. Sudama, young Brahmin, he became married. And as a married Brahmana, some Brahmanas are reasonably well-to-do. Some Brahmanas are okay. And Sudama was very, very, very poor. He was so poor that there was more holes in his cloth than there was cloth. And his wife felt badly for that misfortune. You know the story. Anyone not know the story? Okay, you all know. Okay. They're living in Porbandar, which is a place not right proximate to where when Dwarka was. So the wife said to her husband, "You're very poor, but you have a friend, and your friend is now living in Dwarka, and your friend, you're such close friends, your friend is super wealthy, and he's very charitable. Can you go see your friend and ask him for just the basic necessities of life? He'll be very happy to see you, and he'll be very happy, very generous, and give you happily whatever you need." He didn't want to go. I mean, he wanted to see Krishna, but he didn't want to go on that pretext. Go, can you give me something? You don't want to do that. But his wife was, wives can sometimes be a little insistent, nag, so she was, but for the welfare of her husband. So he said, when you go to see a person, you have to take a gift. We don't have anything in the house to give as a gift. So she went to some neighbors, and with a cloth, she received some pieces of broken rice for a king. And that little cloth became a bag, and that's what you see pictured here. There's Sandipani Muni with that little bag over his shoulder. See the little bag over his shoulder? That's the broken rice that they had to borrow from neighbors because he was so poor he didn't have. And here he comes to see Krishna. When Krishna heard that he had come, Krishna got off his throne and went to embrace Sandipani Muni, Sridham. Sudama, one more time, Sudama. And he brought Sudama into his palace, one of his 16,108 palaces, and he literally worshipped him. because this is culture. And the Kshatriya respects the Brahmana and worships the Brahmana by worshiping the Brahmanas, and the cows one worships Krishna. Namo Brahmanyaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So he worshipped. There's Rukmini, the goddess of fortune. She's fanning him. Krishna's offering fruits after you see the little, what's on the floor there, that's the foot bath. Washed his feet, fanned him with a chamara fan, offered nice items. There's his washing his feet. And very beautiful painting. Sudama is not interested in his foot wash. He's interested in Krishna. And look at, he's just staring at Krishna. Krishna's washing his feet, but he's just staring into Sudama's eyes. The love of the personality of Godhead for his dear devotee who loves him. The Bhagavatam is filled with this kind of understanding. Uh-oh. Good catch. I'm going to share something. I'll come back to what you see on the screen, but during the Thanksgiving holiday, I had prepared a whole bunch for a seminar on Madhurya Kadambini. Madhurya Kadambini is a book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describing Rupa Goswami, 2 verses of Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The whole book on 2 verses. The 2 verses are identifying the 9 stages that bhakti starts from preliminary to prema. A little seed to mature fruits and flowers and the abundance of love of Krishna. And describes in detail the stages of bhakti. I thought the topic is a very important topic for devotees to know, and so I spent a lot of time preparing. I learned a lot, and it's insight, so here comes some of it. In the beginning of his book, a classical thing that a classical author does is writes Mangala Charana. Mangala, auspicious. Mangala, like Mangala Arati, Mangala Arati, Mangala Charana. Prayers making auspiciousness for the presentation of the book. So he has 2. One is a Mangala Charana verse in glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the second is a Mangala Charana verse shorter, but specifically glorifying Rupa Goswami, because he's the author. He's the source of these 2 verses of this book. And what he writes about Rupa Goswami is very significant. I mean, profound. And if we can understand this basic thing about Rupa Goswami, which is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, fully realized, as we went back a little bit, Rupa Goswami was a recipient of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, specific to the teachings of bhakti, which is the basis of realizing Krishna. He writes, in the past, paraphrasing, not verbatim, there were many acharyas that made glorification of the personality of Godhead. But one amongst them, Rupa, made very clear that this supreme personality of Godhead is rasa, R-A-S-A, not rasa dance, but rasa, as in mellow or taste, the taste of love, bhakti rasa. He does so, and Rupa Goswami revealed in fullness this truth about Krishna. And for this reason, I offer my all respects to him. amongst our acharyas, I'll come back to what's on the screen, you'll see. Amongst our acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who is an author of this book, is known as a Rasika Bhakta. I mean, he saw everything through the lens of rasa, and he wrote like that. He understood details and details, but even in those details, the essence is rasa, because the essence is Krishna, and Krishna is rasa. And everything. There's details of pastimes, but the essence of those pastimes, like what's on the screen, is rasa. It's the love. Krishna is showing how to properly receive a guest, specifically a brahmana. I mean, it's his friend, but the friendship goes even, you put the friendship aside to honor the person in an appropriate way. How do you respect people? Now, first of all, there has to be something inside. This is on this point, on the theme of humility and surrender. You don't respect people if you see them as some material entity. Say it the other way. If you see them as some material entity, then it opens the door for disrespect or familiarity or some kind of something where you don't see them as who they are. You don't see the spiritual aspect of that person. We see the material aspect of that person. And when the focus goes to the material aspect, there's qualities and faults, like everything in this world. There's a place of duality, and there's plus and there's minus. Everywhere you go, anything you see, plus and minus. Without giving examples. There's a place of duality. But there is a place of absolute reality besides the duality. And respect, because we're all parts and parcels of Krishna, there's a due respect that goes for the very fact, even the covering of a living entity. The covering of a living entity may be good, bad, or mixed. Generally mixed, but maybe more good, maybe more bad, but mixed. But the soul is not good or bad, or mixed. The soul is absolute. Respect in Vaishnava Sangha rests upon respect for the absolute nature of Krishna and living entities being part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore respect goes to the living entity. Now, respect may be exhibited in different ways. And how Krishna is respecting Sandipani Muni, culturally speaking, is appropriate. He's a brahmana. He's a poor brahmana, okay. His clothes have more holes than clothes. He's very poor. He's skinny. Bones are showing. It's like a skinny guy. But he's clean, and he's a brahmana. And he's a soul. And a dear friend, high school friend, or growing up friend, grade school friend. But he is Krishna's devotee. And Krishna knows that. So Krishna's love is in reciprocating with that love of Sandipani Muni, because that's Krishna. You can say Krishna is love or God is love, but he's rasa. He has loving exchange with all living entities, even bad ones. And he does so in a very sweet and loving way. Here's a number of paintings. This is one very nice painting. They're washing his feet and having a fan. And here's this, came from a destitute place. He didn't even have enough wealth, enough anything to get something from their kitchen. Some rice to give to Krishna. It was broken rice from neighbors. And in this section of the Bhagavatam, there's this nice description that says, if one makes friendship with Krishna, one will never be cheated and he will get all help needed. So what happened was Krishna saw this little bag or cloth that had broken rice in it. And Krishna said, to Sudama, "Oh, you brought a gift for me." And he started to reach for the cloth. Rukmini grabbed his hand to check him, because this isn't fit for your consumption. Krishna was stronger. He reached for the bag and took some rice and popped it in his mouth. And this is the best rice. It's a little bit like Lord Chaitanya saying to Raghunath Das Goswami about the discarded rice that he found, etc., etc. Very similar pastime, mood. And so because Krishna accepted the rice of, and the love and devotion of Sudama, when Sudama was heading back, what am I going to tell my wife? She's going to ask me, did you ask Krishna for help? And I'm a Brahmin, I can't be anything but truthful. I have to say, no, I didn't ask him. So what am I going to tell her? I didn't ask him. You know what happened. When he went back to his home, he didn't see his home. Instead, he saw a palace. And when he came home and he's standing at the gate of the palace, out came a lady who he didn't even recognize. And who are you? "Oh, I'm your wife." Oh. Because she wasn't dressed poorly, she was dressed lavishly. And instead of his home, little shabby home, there's a palace. And she said, "I thought you had asked him." And this is what Krishna did in reciprocation. He took care of all your needs. So that's what this saying is on the screen. The friendship, it's not something cosmetic or external or formal. It's something that's, bhakti is within. It's something from the heart that one may or may not feel. So we're doing the activities of bhakti, and we may or may not be feeling a relationship with Krishna in the course of those activities. And we asked this question yesterday. If we're having those feelings, why? And what to do? It's a good question. I'll share something with you. As a traveling sannyasi, I'm accustomed to having questions. And though sometimes people ask it publicly, and sometimes they ask it privately, but a very common question goes like this: I'm still chanting, I'm still reading, but I'm not making much progress. In different ways that attire may fit any one of us or all of us. Do we feel that we're making? Just a question came up yesterday. At the beginning, my answer was zoom, zoom, and then something happened. It wasn't zoom, zoom anymore. Why and what to do? It's a different way of asking the same thing. So for that to not, when it does happen, what to do? And for that to not happen, what to do? So a very simple answer. There's different ways of answering, but it comes back to, how does bhakti begin? You hit the reset button. It's like when your computer has a problem. You shut it off and you just boot it up again, and somehow it just gets fixed. Or something electronic, and you hit the reset. You just go back to square one, and it sets itself up. So how did my bhakti, any one of us, ask yourself, how did my bhakti life begin? Not that there was events, but besides the events, the external part, what was the essence of how does bhakti life begin? And you get the answer to that. And why, the next question is, why did you move forward with what happened? And you have the answer to your question of, how did I get stuck? Because the seed has now reached a certain stage, and I'm meant to do the same basic things that Adausha Tata Tak Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya, with more bhakti, with more, for the purpose that Krishna should be pleased. for the purpose, because that's bhakti. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Rupa Goswami's another verse, along with the stages of bhakti. Krishna is to be pleased. Anu Shilana. Following Anu Shilana, the behavior or conduct or activities of perfected souls. We follow. We don't imitate, but we follow. Emulate and learn from them and take their association and go back and do the same things, because it's not that bhakti needs to be changed. I'm going to end abruptly. Get ready. What bhakti is in the seed stage is the same bhakti in the mature stage. And in the in-between stages, it's the same. There's a qualitative difference, but it's not, you have to change to this and change to that and change to that. It's the same thing. But if you just do the same thing, it can become familiar, or we can become complacent, or the purpose under which we began our bhakti has now been served, and we check out and become complacent, or something, distracted, or become overwhelmed with this. Another discussion from yesterday was the impurities, the anarthas, the absence of humility and the presence of pride that now becomes more prominent now that I'm just more aware of it. It was always there, just more aware of it. Now that I've become a little advanced in Krishna Bhakti. Yikes, look at what's inside there. And then feeling, I'm not making much advancement, and feeling those other feelings. We don't need to change something. We go back to the principles of how bhakti begins, how does bhakti move, and connect with those in a devotional way. Go into a mode of goodness space, and saying the same thing in different language. Go into a mode of goodness space, a reflection space. Devotees are introspective. What's going on in there? What's in my heart? Why am I feeling these feelings? What's up?
When you said what's going on there, the kids are in their room and they were making noise. So you thought you were talking about the...
No, I wasn't making that. What's going on in there? What's going on in there? Children will play. The Nartana Vritti goes all the way up. Just before the bhava stage, there's still anarthas hanging around inside. Takes a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, a lot of faith, a lot of conviction. Same principles, just more matured, to the point where the light comes completely on and the darkness is dispelled. And we're not there yet. So welcome to the club. We're not there yet, club. But you don't need to change something. You just need to do it with a more attentive manner, devotional, purposeful manner. Like, what's the purpose? If you don't connect with the purpose, it's really hard to continue, what to speak of progressing. Or say it the other way. When you connect with the purpose, the why, then you can do the what and the how. Okay, it's easy to give many examples, but I'll just pause and see if there's some discussion in our assembled devotees.
Thank you, Maharaj. The last point which you made, that if we know the purpose, can you repeat that? It was that a bit.
Yeah,
Then-
it's just it's positive and negative. I was using two different terms. One is the purpose or the why. So like, what's the purpose of human life? If I don't know what the purpose is, good luck. And let me share something just to illustrate the point. When I was in undergraduate school, I had a friend that had a sports car. And not only was it a sports car, but it was a convertible sports car. In those days, little convertible sports car was like, nobody had them, but he had one. And every Saturday, he got in his little convertible sports car with the top down and went for a ride. And I asked him one time, when you go for this Saturday drive, where are you going? And he said, I'm going for the drive. And I said, I hope you get there. There's no purpose. I mean, he could have said unwind, or could have said, but it was just row your boat gently down the stream. So there's no purpose, then when sometimes it's stormy, sometimes there's lots of waves, and sometimes it gets really difficult. And if you have a purpose, you can weather the storm. It's ballast at the hull of the ship, and you can go through the stormy sea, and it's okay. But if you don't have purpose, if you do have purpose, then you just keep going in the direction of what that purpose is. You may have to refine and redefine and fine-tune the statement of that purpose, but it's gives direction to life. And many people have a purpose, and it's the wrong purpose. It's something on the material side and not something on the eternal side. And that's a mistake. So that was one of the phrases, the purpose. Another was why.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Maharaj. Your friend driving the car, there was a purpose. He wants to go for a ride.
But, what's the purpose of going for a ride? Life is a ride. Life is a journey. Going where? I don't know where. I'm just journeying.
Okay, so let me frame my question then. So in the bhakti process, there should be a purpose, right?
Yeah.
The why we are doing what we are doing.
Yes.
Can we keep the same purpose for our entire life of bhakti process?
I please do so. No, each of us has a way of manifesting that. You have yours. I have mine. He and she have theirs. But the purpose is that Krishna should be pleased. That's bhakti life. Krishna is to be pleased. And we accept things that are going to enhance my tendency and capacity to please Krishna, and reject things that inhibit. That's surrender. That's our topic for this visit. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilano. Anikulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya. So we accept things favorable, reject things unfavorable. For what purpose? Taking shelter of Krishna so that Krishna is pleased, and nothing else.
It's a very, very deep statement.
Yeah, it's important, but it's
very
important.
It's very important.
I'll amplify it. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves in this conundrum where I'm chanting and I'm reading, but I'm not making much progress. Why? And what to do? It's common, super common, too common, painfully common. Why? And what to do?
Sorry for that. So there is one generic purpose. We love Srila Prabhupada and we want to serve him. I think we make our process of bhakti more complicated by changing it's not changing the purpose, but modifying our purposes. But especially talking about me, I never thought of any purpose except one purpose of serving Srila Prabhupada. Is that enough? Or
You want more? If he smiles, everything's okay. And if I know, or you know, or any one of us know, it's this and only this. Squeaky clean. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam.
thank you. I can go deep, but I don't want to waste the time.
Okay.
The second thing, you're talking about the Mahaprabhu's Leela, Mahaprakash Leela, and you're talking about Murari Gupta. He was he was worshipping Lord Rama as his deities. But there's one pastime, correct me Maharaj if I'm wrong, where Murari Gupta, he's a fan, he went to treat a king and he saw that someone was fanning the king, and because of this peacock feather, he fainted. He was rolling on the ground unconsciously. Is that correct? Is the same Murari
It's
Gupta?
not Murari Gupta. My memory is shot. Something happens when you get older. It's one of the things that goes. Is for me at least, and I've said this in different forms, and I get the echo of voices, not just you, Maharaj, when you get older. So Lakshmi, can you remember the name of who died? Yes, thank you. What?
Maharaj, so Pundrik pastime is a different pastime. It's a different altogether. So I can share the references in
Okay,
Chaitanya
you share
Bhagavad.
the reference.
Yes.
Offline.
One last question and I'm done. So Mahaprabhu I was appreciating this statement you made that Mahaprabhu was doing the Sankirtan outside congregational for the common people.
Yes.
And he was doing inside in the closed door.
Yeah, at night.
What's different between, they were the same. They were chanting the same Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
But there were symptoms of ecstasy that weren't to be seen by others. And the going out into the public happened later, not initially. Say it again. Initially, it was not out in the public. And in course of time, it became both. In the house of Srivas and in the public. Go open the gate and distribute this throughout the whole of Navadvip. And then there was a pushback.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you so much. So many points on the humility. So Maharaj, my question is regarding the truth, expressing the truth to others. So like when the person is not receptive the truth, so is it going to be the anartha?
Is it very what?
Anartha?
Yours or theirs?
It's my...
Yours, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, but it could be. So the answer is it depends. On the circumstance, it depends. Let's take it, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't anartha, but when, for example, when Ramchandra Puri was criticizing him, He remained silent. Was it an anartha on his part? Some impurity of his heart that he didn't say? He just contradict? He knew where Ramchandrapur, there was some history. He knew the history. He knew his nature. So it depends. I mean, there's many, many, many other variables, but it depends. The answer to your question is depends. Sometimes it's best to acknowledge without saying, you know, there's this, I just had this discussion with a teenager. On, you know, you see something, you say something. That's like the slogan these days. And sometimes when you see something, it's prudent to say nothing, depends on the circumstance. Because the something may be misunderstood and or could be resented and impede the benefit that you can give to the other person. It may be better in a given circumstance to encourage something that's good rather than say something about something that's not good. Depends. So now, how do you decide? That's the next question. The answer is you have to have intelligence. Some of us don't have very much intelligence. So where does intelligence come from? Super soul, right? So strengthen your relationship with super soul. That's your business is to make the heart more pure and this relationship with super soul stronger. So then you have the intelligence to know what to say, when to say, if to say. And the purpose, the bhakti purpose is that Krishna should be pleased, is achieved. Welcome to the club. Purifying ourselves to become more qualified to receive intelligence from super soul, how to say, what to say, if to say. So the answer is not necessarily some anartha within. It's just, my eligibility to be Krishna's instrument is not, I'm a dull instrument. I'm not yet a capable, qualified instrument. And I have to live. I move in the circle of devotees and I see something. Now, what do I do? Maybe what I'm seeing is not so good. Maybe it's not how I see it. And so many things. Lakshmi wanted to add something.
I didn't want to leave it hanging there. We came up with the answer. Sri Mukunda, he was a royal physician to Emperor Hossein Shah. And when the emperor was being fanned by a peacock feather, he saw the shimmering peacock feathers and fell down in ecstasy.
Sri Mukunda.
Sri Mukunda.
Watch. He's going to find something. That's it? You agree? Really? Okay, Sri Mukunda. But if you find that Sri Mukunda reference, could you send it to me? Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Another question, Serena, on.
Okay. Well, up front here.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you. Maharaj, I love your classes, the mixture of Srimad Bhagavatam and you reference Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's so beautiful. We just feel like we want to hear more. the mix, it just makes so much connected and also we feel like, oh, we should start reading Chaitanya Charitamrita more. So thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, my question is like yesterday you were saying about head and heart,
Yes.
right? So I was contemplating on that, how to, what you said and how I should use it. I had some questions, Maharaj, regarding that. You said with head and heart is important. Where there is heart, you can chant well and then you can please Krishna, right? So my question is, the way I'm looking at myself, it is the way my system is configured right now is my heart, I look at it like a device which will say, let's say I commit offense, right? Then my heart says, after committing offense, oh, you did an offense, red light or green light. When I see red light, I feel like, oh my God, there are a lot of red lights. So I use my mind as a floor to work on and practice so that I don't do it. So from what you said yesterday, am I correctly configured, or I should change like where I should practice? I'm confused with mind and heart.
You're confusing me with your question. It's kind of like 4th of July fireworks.
I'm sorry, Maharaj.
I recommend, as this earlier discussion, go back to basics. Make sure that the basics are qualitatively and, as far as possible, quantitatively, but especially qualitatively in place. And so you do your sadhana in a qualitative way and have a person or persons accessible to you as guides. Persons that are wise, persons that are mature, persons that are confidential, and persons that aren't interested in getting at your steering wheel and controlling things. They're interested in helping you to understand yourself and the bhakti process. Have sadhusanga, in short, and do bhajana kriya, to your capacity nicely. And you'll get an answer to this and any other question. And it's not, back to the head and heart. It's not heart only, and the head can go on a vacation. The intelligence is needed to guide the heart, or guide how supposing someone doesn't have intelligence, supposing somebody doesn't have scriptural direction or a spiritual teacher that they're taking spiritual lessons from, but their heart is very big. They can be misguided, a sincere fool. So there has to be intelligence together with heart, not just this one and the other one goes out for vacation or something. But when bhakti is done properly, knowledge arises. And the knowledge means who's the controller? And it means I'm the servant. There's the controller, and that's my life. That's who I am. So to keep it simpler, what you should do, besides this particular question that I'm not really clear what you're asking, do your sadhana as nicely as you can. Know what that means. Read the scripture and do it nicely as you can. And then have good guides. Have sadhus that you go to, that you can confide in, and they can bang you on the head if they need to. Or they can do whatever they want because you trust them. They're trustworthy people. And that is, so then you're headed in the right direction. And one other thing, this why either one of them, the purpose of this and that, why, and connect the why to the what. I think we should end. Oh. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So, from the humility and the humble, the lesson that we learned yesterday, so I was just interpreting in my own way, but I need some help. Like when we try to be humble or develop humility, false ego kicks in. And also sometimes...
Oh, just see how humble I am. Something like that.
So
Go ahead.
So to develop the humility or humbleness, I have noticed that the false ego comes in,
Yes.
and also it setbacks the bhakti.
Well, yeah. So
And
now what?
so how to overcome that?
When you have a mountain in front of you and you want to climb the mountain, what do? If you have faith, it's not I'm not going to be able to climb this mountain. I need Krishna's help. We discussed this yesterday. It's the purification is not I'm going to do it. That's false ego. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a sincere effort according to the guidelines that Scripture gives and sadhus give. But I'm going to depend on mercy, and then the mercy can carry you over the mountain. That formidable obstacle called false ego. But you have to go like that. It's just like a child does like that with their parent. The parent knows what that means. Right? You probably don't do that anymore, but you probably used to do that. Every parent knows what that means. I'm not a parent, and I know what that means. Please pick me up. So you do like that, from the heart, along with your arms, from your heart. And then you can, the mountain, you're on the other side of it. Like, what happened? You got picked up. Effort and mercy. By the way, I'd like to end, but tomorrow I didn't calculate properly. Tomorrow is a Zoom class with the Chinese devotees, and the topic is the Yamala Arjun trees get knocked over by Krishna. Now that's Canto 10, Chapter 10, which comes right after Canto 10, Chapter 9. And Chapter 9 is the Damodar Leela. So when Chapter 10 begins, Damodar is still fastened to the grinding mortar with that rope. And there's that grinding mortar with the rope that pulls over the twin Arjuna trees, Chapter 10. So that's where we're going to go tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 10, Part 2. The twin Arjuna tree is going to get knocked over. And then now the Kuvera and Madhigriva, who were both cursed and benedicted by Narada Muni. Narada Muni doesn't go around cursing people. That's not Narada Muni. But he understood these two men, their pride is too much. They need a little help to get relieved from their pride. So they need to undergo some little bit of austerity and not have all their wealth and opulence and so forth and all the things they're proud of. So they should be deprived of those things so they can, get sobered a little bit because they were intoxicated and naked in a sacred river. So become trees. They became trees. But they got a benediction that they would remember the sinful activities of the previous life for 100 celestial years, which is a long time, to be standing as trees and remembering all that stuff. So they got squeaky clean. And then the benediction was, you're going to see Krishna. And then you're going to be relieved of those bodies of being trees, but Krishna's going to knock you over and you'll be now the Kuvera Madhigriva, you go back to the heavenly planet. You go back to being the sons of Kuvera. But you're pure devotees, you're not proud anymore. So it looked like a curse, but it was what a wonderful curse. You're going to meet Krishna. You have to go through some austerities first. Is that okay? Oh yes, that's okay. I'm ready. And then became not just see Krishna, but became lovers of Krishna. So that's tomorrow. And then the following day, we'll just continue on the same theme. Models of humility, propelling one to the place of surrender. That's Thursday. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki